to welcome you all for joining today for his a daily online class with Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj. A very warm welcome to you all. Thank you all for joining. My humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol, glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om
Bhagavate
Namo
Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya Saeva Maraditam Padatirtad Aditya Tadvatma Vibodha Margaha Pranamya Bhado Pavitritya Devam Ihagatoham Viraha Turatma. I have studied the path of understanding self-knowledge from my spiritual master, the personality of Godhead, and thus, after circumambulating him, I have come to this place, very much aggrieved due to separation. Purport: Sri Uddhava's actual life is a direct symbol of the Chatursloki Bhagavatam, enunciated first to Brahmaji by the personality of Godhead. These four very great important verses from Bhagavatam are particularly taken out by the Mayavadi speculators, who construe a different purport to suit their impersonal view of monism. Here is the proper answer to such unauthorized speculators. The verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam are purely theistic, science understandable by the postgraduate students of the Bhagavad Gita. The unauthorized dry speculators are offenders at the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna because they distort the purports of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam to mislead the public and prepare a direct path to the hell known as Andhata Mishra. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 16:20, such envious speculators are without knowledge and are surely condemned life after life. They unnecessarily take shell of Sripad Shankaracharya, but he is not so drastic as to commit an offense at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. According to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sripad Shankaracharya preached the Mayavadi philosophy for a particular purpose. Such a philosophy was necessary to defeat the Buddhist philosophy of the non-existence of the spirit soul. But it was never meant for perpetual acceptance. It was an emergency. Thus, Lord Krishna was accepted by Sankaracharya as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his commentation on Bhagavad Gita. Since he was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, he did not write any commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, because that would have been a direct offense at the lotus feet of the Lord. But later, speculators in the name of Mayavadi philosophy unnecessarily make their commentary on the Chatursloki Bhagavatam without any bona fide intent. The monistic dry speculators have no business in the Srimad Bhagavatam because this particular Vedic literature is forbidden for them by the great author himself. Srila Vyasadeva had definitely forbidden persons engaged in religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and finally salvation from trying to understand Bhagavatam, which is not meant for them. This is mentioned in 112 Bhagavatam. Sripad Sridhar Swami, the great commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, has definitely forbidden the salvationists or monists to deal in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not for them. Yet such unauthorized persons perversively try to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, and thus they commit offenses at the feet of the Lord, which even Sripad Shankaracharya dared not do. Thus they prepare for their continuation of miserable life. It should be particularly noted herein that Uddhava studied the Chatur Sloka Bhagavatam directly from the Lord, who spoke them first to Brahmaji. And this time the Lord explained more confidentially the self-knowledge mentioned in the Param Stitim. Upon learning such self-knowledge of love, Uddhava felt very much aggrieved by feelings of separation from the Lord. Unless one is awakened to the stage of Uddhava, everlasting feeling of the separation of the Lord in transcendental love, as exhibited by Lord Chaitanya, one cannot understand the real purport of the four essential verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. One should not indulge in unauthorized writing of twisting in the meeting and thereby putting himself on the dangerous path of offense. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjala Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Bhistam Staptitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Desatarine Vansha Kalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhupe Bacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So there's a somewhat of a perverted, twisted idea that if you want to be somewhat known for the philosophy you teach, you pick out a scripture that is already popular amongst the people, and then you write your own commentary on it. And then people think, oh, this is an expansion of the actual knowledge that's given. This is a form of cheating. The author knows the basis of the scripture that he composes, and therefore we have to accept it from the author himself. Here we're speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam was authored by Vyasadeva, who was a plenary portion of the Supreme Lord who came to take the Vedic knowledge and bring it into the realm of writing. Before then, that knowledge was spoken. It's called, another name for the Vedas is called Shruti. Shruti means to hear. So people learned Vedic knowledge by hearing. The spiritual master would speak, the qualified disciple would listen, and he would learn, and he would also teach others. And this way, the disciplic succession proliferated itself from guru to disciple on down. Now, the Mayavadi means one who accepts Maya as supreme. That means the illusionary energy. They say, mistakenly, that the living entity is also spirit. They say that spirit cannot be divided, and so there's only one spirit. So therefore, all living entities are all that same one spirit. Therefore, that same one spirit is the supreme absolute truth. And they quote statements from Shastra with a twisted meaning, saying that, yes, spirit cannot be divided. But then we have other statements from scriptures explaining how spirit manifests itself into different categories of itself without being divided, but they're different aspects of the same principle. Just like Mamai Vamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Masistana Indriyani Prakriti Stani Karshiti. The Mayavadis say that this proves that the soul is actually also the supreme. But here, the word Sanatana means eternal. They say only during the manifestation is it true, but the word Sanatana defeats their argument automatically. Sanatana means that the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, both in the conditioned state and in the liberated state. And that's also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also, where it explains that the soul um, has different qualities and also activities, but that soul is the emanation, or the source is coming. The soul is the energy of the Supreme Lord, and therefore not different than the Supreme Lord, but at the same time different. The Mayavadi philosophy is oneness, everything is one. But we say one and different simultaneously, just like there are so many human beings. So you might say, from the perspective of humanity, we're all one. But then within the humanity, there are different types of human beings. So there is a diversity within the oneness. And therefore, using that same analogy, it applies also to the source of existence. Therefore, Krishna manifests himself in forms of himself, which are at the same time different of himself, but at the same time same. Same in quality, different in quantity. The Mayavadis put it all together and say there's no distinction, therefore everything is one. Therefore, God and the living entity is actually God, but he has fallen out of grace and now has come to the material world, and he's under the influence of Maya. Therefore, they call themselves Mayavadis. We call them Mayavadis. They don't call themselves Mayavadis. They call themselves transcendentalists. But they're not transcendental because they're still within the modes of material nature by identifying the soul as under the influence of the material energy. Now here, and what do? They go through scriptures that is authorized. Prabhupada said here, Shankaracharya was the what we say, the proliferator of Mayavadi teachings, but he did it as a service to destroy Buddhism. There is a verse that's coming in from the Mahabharata, and it explains that he came as a hidden incarnation just to destroy the idea that there is no soul. The Buddhists had become prominent in India at that time, and therefore, in order to bring people back to the Vedas in the proper way, Sankaracharya, who is actually Lord Shiva himself, Vaishnava Yata Sambhu, Shiva is not teaching Mayavad philosophy. He's teaching the idea that the oneness of existence, and they take that oneness and apply it in the wrong way, but that's not his teachings. It's like you take the statements of the spiritual master and you would reinterpret it in your own way and say, this is my spiritual master's teaching. That's what the Mayavadis do. And then they call the soul Daridra. Daridra means poor, or under the influence of the material energy. So if God is the supreme, there is no question of God being overcome by an energy that is lesser than him. But they say that this is his Leela. So they always have an excuse. They use the word Leela as some kind of pastime of the Lord to be covered. But then they say the process of uncovering will bring you back out of the Leela and back to your state. And therefore, when they addressed each other, they call themselves Narayan. Om Namo Narayan. I offer you my respect as Narayan. You're Narayan, I'm Narayan. There's different kinds of Narayans. But none of this is in line with actual, what we say, Vedic philosophy or standard philosophy given by the Vaishnavacharyas, who say that the soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but due to the soul's independence, it has somehow or other separated itself from the Lord, and therefore it comes to the material world to act out its position as being independent. But that independence is false, because as soon as it tries to become independent, it's been put under another energy of the Lord called the material energy, the Bahiranga Shakti. And then that same soul is controlled by the Lord indirectly through his material energy. And the soul is never independent, either in the liberated stage or in the conditioned stage. Either they're in the liberated stage, they're under the influence of the Daivi Shakti, the Paraprakriti, and in the manifested stage and conditioned, they're under the influence of the Aparaprakriti, or the Bahiranga Shakti, of the material energy. So here, Shankaracharya was a gentleman, as Prabhupada gives him credit here, saying that he did write a commentary called Gita Bhashya, where he made statements on the Gita, and he twisted Krishna's words to make it sound like oneness. He wrote his own commentary. But he didn't touch Bhagavatam, because he knew Bhagavatam was the direct manifestation of Krishna in literary form. But the Mayavadis, who are so-called followers of Sankaracharya, take the essence of Bhagavatam, which is those Chatusloki verses as mentioned here, where Krishna clarifies everything in these 4 verses. In one of the verses, he says that before the creation I existed, during the manifestation I exist, and after the annihilation I continue to exist. So the Supreme is never under the influence of his creation, and the creation, he is aware of all of the energies that he produces, both what we say creative, manifested, and ultimately destructive. So in order, again, it comes back to a cheating mentality. If you want to make your philosophy popular, you take a bona fide philosophy and you write your own commentary on it and twist the actual meaning to serve your own selfish or your own speculated interests. And this goes on today, both in the Bhagavad Gita and in all Vaishnava scriptures. But Prabhupada said, if you want to write your own philosophy, don't call it Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam commentary. Write your own philosophy, and don't try to take credit for something that is already successful, and try to gain success by taking it to a different way. It's a very, it's cheating. There's no other word for it. It's just cheating. And it's unauthorized also. So these monists are unauthorized speculators. And it says here, they mislead the public, and they guide the public who follow them down to a hell known as Anda Tamisra. And this is mentioned in the end of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There are 27 hells, and one of them is Anda Tamisra. These are places where those who are under the influence of the lower modes of material energy, passion and ignorance, to go after they leave the body, and they are punished accordingly. So one who misleads others is more dangerous than one who mistakenly does who does something wrong based on what is right. For instance, if you do something wrong, I mean, you can be corrected and excused, but if you do something wrong knowingly under the influence of something that is right, or under the bannerhead of something that is right, then you're a cheater. The example would be given just like if a criminal dresses up as a policeman, he looks like a policeman, and one might go to him for some kind of protection, but they'll get something different. So this is the Mayavadis. They dress up as authorities, but they have no authority because they just are. Um, they don't understand the actual knowledge, and they make their own interpretations, which is fashionable now in today's society. People do that. Even in Srila Prabhupada's books, they even take it and try to reinterpret it in a different way. But Prabhupada had wrote so many supporting statements of his books to make sure that his books would never be, what we say, misunderstood. He not only wrote his books, but he made statements supporting what he wrote and enunciating what he wrote. And he did that in other writings in order to keep, especially Bhagavatam, pure from being changed by those who are avaricious for material popularity. Okay, so these are some of the things that are mentioned here. So we give credit to Sankaracharya because he was at least didn't touch Bhagavatam. And now but his followers are are less shameful. They come and they're attacking Srimad Bhagavatam and giving their own. So one has to be very strict and just hear from Srila Prabhupada. If you listen to Prabhupada's arguments, how he presents his understanding of what he has given us, he defends what he gives us in a very clear and very easy to understand way. And that's important for keeping in line what he has taught us. He not only teaches it, writes it, but then explains it, supports it, and converses about it, and defeats opposing arguments that are against it, and reestablishes, always keeps the essence in vogue. And that's Srila Prabhupada. He went painstakingly, he presented this knowledge coming from Krishna himself, coming from the previous acharyas, who are pure devotees in the line coming all the way from Krishna himself. So if we stay with Srila Prabhupada's books, we'll get everything. And we'll understand what is not too, because it's very important to understand what is not, because what is not looks like, in many cases, what is. I'm just reading now an account of Srila Prabhupada dealing with that when he was traveling in places in India, how he's meeting so-called scholars of the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada says they don't really know Bhagavad Gita because they're taking Krishna's words and reinterpreting it in another way. Krishna says, surrender to me. And they say you don't have to surrender to Krishna, you have to surrender to the unborn, unmanifested aspect within Krishna. So they come up with all of this word jugglery, and it sounds very, what we say, interesting the way they present the words. But one who has a little bit of sensitivity, intelligence can see that Krishna is saying one thing and they're saying something different. So that's why Prabhupada gave his Bhagavad Gita as it is. He said, I'm just presenting it the way Krishna is presenting it. And I'm explaining, there's no need for interpretation. Interpretation means when things are not clear. But when things are clear, there's no question of interpretation. The presentation is there. Krishna says, surrender to me. He's speaking the personality of Godhead. He doesn't say anything else. So we have to take, if we read Prabhupada's books, we'll understand what is the foundation and the execution of bhakti and how it works. And also will be free from falling into this idea that there is other ways to interpret what Prabhupada said. Take it as it is, and you'll be benefited. And the example is there. Prabhupada has made devotees all around the world from every country in the world, which was never done before. This is the first time in history that worldwide that this Vedic knowledge is being practiced in practically 70 or more different countries around the world. There's temples, there's devotees, there is Prabhupada's books in the local languages. So Prabhupada really wanted to make sure everything was given accordingly, and he clarified everything through many of his discussions with his devotees and with other very popular persons. He told persons who were not authorized, you're cheating people. You're giving something different than what Krishna is saying. He didn't mince words. He wasn't out to patronize somebody's wrong ideas. He said that this is what Krishna said, and this is the way I'm presenting it, no other way. And it's clear because the results are there. When you have the genuine knowledge, then the results come in the form of intelligent people take to it and actually become purified from it. Those who are very much, what we say, entangled with material energy, when they come to Krishna consciousness, they free themselves and they become actually representative of the Vedas by speaking that knowledge that they have learned and practiced simply by hearing from, applying, understanding Srila Prabhupada's books. And we don't need to go anywhere else to somehow to find authentic knowledge. It's just another form of speculation. The words are very flowery in many places in order to attract people, but ultimately the essence is the same. I could give so many examples of how people speak on the Bhagavad Gita, but they give their own interpretations. I've been face to face with at least 3 or 4 different situations being presented by another form of Bhagavad Gita. That was the person saying, well, this is interesting. Here's a Bhagavad Gita that glorifies Lord Shiva. Well, where's Lord Shiva glorified in the Bhagavad Gita? You don't read it anyway. But then there was some so-called scholar or saint. He wrote a Bhagavad Gita glorifying Lord Shiva. So you can even hardly mention Lord Shiva in the Bhagavad Gita. What to speak of making the Bhagavad Gita a glorification of him. So you'll find all this around everywhere, all kinds of cheaters out there. So don't be cheated. Read and study Prabhupada's books and learn how to apply them by asking questions whenever the need comes.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, dear devotees, we'll open up for question and answers. You can ask your question by raising your hand, or you can put your questions in the chat and I'll relay it on your behalf if you're not able to do so. Another request, if you can please turn on your cameras, that would be good to make it lively and personal so that Maharaj can see all the devotees as well. Thank you. Yes, Prashid Chaitanya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances in your lotus feet, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, being a part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead, why we have the mentality of independence? Is it because Lord Krishna is independent and we are the part and parcel of him? That is why we have the same mentality of independence. Although we are the servant of Lord, so it is contradictory. So can you please clarify, Guru Maharaj?
The word is swarat. Swarat means fully independent. So the living entity has the same qualities as Krishna, but Surat is in minute quantity. What is our independence? We can choose between the spiritual or the material. And as soon as we choose, we're put under the influence of that energy. So we have that independence to choose, because the basic principle of bhakti is voluntary. One has to accept the Lord in a voluntary way. In other words, love cannot be forced. If Krishna took away our independence, there's no question of love. It's forced. Just like if you want to teach your child, you teach them what is right, you can force them, but they may do something out of force, but they don't learn. They learn when they're guided in the proper way. So not full independence, in order to choose between the material and the spiritual. We have chosen the material by coming to the material world. Now we have a chance to re-choose and come back to our actual constitutional position as his eternal servant in the spiritual world.
Yes, Chris. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Daria Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So I was wondering, are we getting any sinful reaction if during our services we do many mistakes? Because sometimes we might forget some things, but then we might cheat ourselves and think that since I already started, I should just continue. I was wondering, what would you recommend if we do too many mistakes during our services and how we can improve?
If you're doing your devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual authorities, either the spiritual master or his designated authorities, the temple authorities, you can't commit any sinful activities unless you actually deviate and perform sinful activities directly, such as illicit sex, intoxication, media, and gambling. But those are not devotional activities. Those are something that we can do aside from the devotion. If you're doing devotional service, you make some mistake or you leave something out. In other words, if it's not performed properly, there's no sinful activity there. You may not get the full benefit of the service, but it's still not sinful. Sinful means, and the word sinful actually means against bhakti. Something that is against bhakti is sinful. So if you're doing bhakti, but you do it wrong, or you do it, without full understanding, it's not sinful. Now, if you commit an aparad in bhakti, then there will be a reaction for that. Just say if you offend the devotees, or if you offend the deity. In other words, you can commit mistakes that are offenses, and that will water down the effects of your devotional practice. But once you realize that, you rectify that, and you come back up to the standard, and you avoid these offenses. So one should learn what are the offenses. There's offenses to the holy name, offenses to the deity, offenses to the Vaishnavas, and offenses to people in general. These are the four main categories of offenses. There's another fifth category, offenses to the holy Dham. But the four main ones are emphasized as the essence. So there are rules and regulations to follow in the execution of devotional service, so you don't commit offenses. But if you commit offense, then you have to rectify that offense.
For example, committing offenses towards the deities, it's seeing them as, when you look at them, you see them just as food for people. How do we correct?
in Nectar of Devotion explains that offenses before the deities, just like if you're in front of the deities and you argue with somebody in front of the deities, that's an offense. If you speak loudly in front of the deities, that's an offense. If you sit with your legs straight out facing the deity, that's an offense. If you put your back to the deities while the curtains are open, that's an offense. So these things are also mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion. Offenses to the deity means offenses when you come into the temple room. And if you're doing deity worship on the altar, you can also commit offenses there also. So one has to be very careful not to commit offenses, to follow the proper behavior and avoid just doing things without knowing what is right or wrong. When you come in, you knock on the door. Sometimes the temple has a bell, and you open the door, you ring the bell, and then you go in. You announce yourself, and when you go in, you pay your obeisances. Yeah. If you fail to pay obeisances when you walk up in the temple, that is an offense by omission. There's offenses that you can do wrongly, and there's things that are offenses by not doing the right thing also. So you have to know both. If you read Nectar Devotion, it's all there. Every one of them are mentioned.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sridevi Mataji, you have a question. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Dinanath. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. On this subject of offenses before the deities when the curtain is open, as you said, sometimes we see, people who don't know, they stretch their legs in front of the deity and sit down, or they're talking very loudly in front of the deity. At those times, should we say and do anything, or should we wait until the arti or program is over, and when they go out, then we tell them? Because to stretch your legs in front of the deity is directly an offense to the deity.
Yeah, if you start chastising someone before the deity, you could make it even worse. Better to find the right opportunity. If it's guests, you can expect the guests not know the proper behavior.
Right. So is it okay at that time to gently tell them that, you can fold your legs because this is,
Yeah.
the deity, like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. My obeisance.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mataji. Maharaj, I have a question. Yeah, Daria Mataji, please go ahead. I can ask my
No,
question.
please go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
It was just a similar topic. I was just thinking, like, what if we see like devotees, like turning their back, for example, when we do Guru Puja, and many people like turn their back from the deities. Is that also considered an offense, and should we try to correct it or just mention it?
Well, you let the if it's happening, the temple authorities should make the correction. If everybody runs around and starts correcting everybody, it's going to be chaos. It's going to make it worse. If we're doing Guru Puja and we're facing Prabhupada and the deities are behind us, we should stand on an angle and not directly with our back towards the deity.
And if the authority they don't correct, we should just let, because it's an offense from their side. I'm just thinking if it helps them.
When it comes to the non-devotee guests, they're not really committing offenses because they don't know. but still, just we politely, the temple authorities should very politely, because sometimes when you correct someone, you make it worse because they don't understand why you're just saying what you're saying. Don't start jumping in there and try to be the all-purpose corrector, you know? You'll just make it worse, that's all. If you can do it nicely, very graciously, politely, with proper mood, then why not? But usually devotees get upset, and when they're upset, then they start speaking things, and it ruins everything. As soon as you get upset, then you ruin the whole thing.
Thank you.
Cause more problems. John?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. I was just wondering if there's anything that I might need to be careful of when presenting dramas to make sure that I'm not misleading anyone.
Yeah, if you're going to present dramas in the temple, you're referring to?
Yeah, and also outside the temple.
Don't make sure people's back is not, if the curtains are open. Actually, they shouldn't allow the curtains to be open when the dramas are on. And they should close the curtains. And that way people can stand wherever they want. But when the curtains are open, no one can put their back to the deities, especially the actors either.
Yeah, okay.
So that, yeah.
Okay.
You know, many times I signal to the person. I just give some hand signal, just telling them, you know, move slightly away from putting your back like that. But you're saying when you do dramas, they should, and this is the proper way to do things, they should close the curtains. They shouldn't leave it open.
Right. Okay.
And you said outside too?
Yeah. Yes.
Outside, there wouldn't be any consideration.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Maharaj. And is there anything that we should be careful of when we are bridge preaching to make sure that we're not misleading anybody? Is there a line where perhaps bridge preaching becomes watering down or misleading? Or
Bridge preaching can't be done by everybody.
okay.
Bridge means you connect them to the understanding by using things that are not direct, but are less direct.
Mm-hmm.
Taking, just for instance, you know, we do programs at yoga studios. So we may also, we do kirtan when we go to yoga studios, and they're open to kirtan, a lot of them. But sometimes devotees think they have to chant the names of the demigods at these yoga studios in order to inspire people.
Yeah.
That is not really recommended or even allowed by the acharyas.
Right.
We can stick to the names of Krishna. We can stick to the names of Krishna and his different names like Govinda, Gopal, Madhusudan. In other words, we can chant other mantras, not less direct from the Maha mantra.
Right.
We should be chanting the name. Yeah. Or sometimes, do I know one devotee? He became a yoga master, and he would lead the group through yoga, and he would connect one bhajan with each of the different types of asanas. So he said, on this asana, you chant this bhajan or this mantra. like that. So that was good. That's bridge preaching.
Okay.
That's an example. There's other kinds of bridge preachings too.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, John. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Dinanath, you got a question?
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, the question, I think, what you mentioned is like Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya did not comment on Bhagavatam because this would have been an offense. So that was, that is clear. But then the following comments on the unauthorized commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says that they basically go to hell, and it's basically, so is it literally heavy statement, or is it just condemning basically for all these
He's
scrupulous?
saying they're leading other people to hell by their misunderstanding, wrong interpretations, or their cheating forms of interpretations. They're leading other people to hell. So that's mentioned in the Sri Ishopanishads. What is it? There is one verse from the Sri Ishopanishads. Go to, can you give a listing of the
Yes,
verse
Maharaj.
Sri
Yes.
Ishopanishads? It's worth mentioning because it's directly related there.
Okay, I'm just sharing Sri Upanishad.
Go down the page, let's see. Yeah, those who engage in the culture of Neshan activity shall enter the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those who engage in the culture of so-called knowledge. There it is. Worse is those who engage in this culture of so-called knowledge. They're leading their followers to hell, and they go to hell too. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge and that a different result is obtained from the culture of neshas.
Yes, Maharaj.
Both are engaged in the worship of the demigods into the darkness region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of the impersonal absolute truth.
So this is clear. Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah. And Prabhupada's purports are there too.
Yeah. No, thank you. Any other questions, dear devotees? Yes, Revati Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hi, Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. My question is about reinterpretation. So when we hear from the spiritual master or read scriptures, we understand based on our conditioning, and we try to share the knowledge. We put our realizations.
Don't try to understand based on your conditions. Try to accept it the way it's being given.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Guru.
Why bring in your conditionings? The
Uh,
knowledge is given to you the way it is. Take it and I try to understand it the way it is, not according to your conditioning. According to your conditioning means wrong.
yes, Guru Maharaj.
Try to understand the way the knowledge is given. Don't try to use your own ideas to try to understand it. Take it as it is.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. Yeah. So we are trying to do that. So when we share also, we put some of the realizations. So we have to be very careful, like, so we don't. So what are the precautions? Like, how should we really?
Just repeat the way you hear it.
Okay.
And then Prabhupada has also given explanations on what he says. Explain things according to his explanations also. Don't try to, I mean, if you're advanced and you're expert at the knowledge, you can use certain examples and references to explain the knowledge. But if you're not on that level, then you should just accept as it is and explain it as is given to you.
Okay, well, so just we have to repeat it, whatever we just exactly hear.
Yeah. And then that's why Prabhupada said, you read my books, but try to understand this knowledge so you can repeat it. He called it, he said, you scrutinizingly study my books, and then you explain the same thing in your own words. You could either repeat it directly or explain it in your own words without touching, or without changing the meaning.
That's good. So without changing the principles and the details, just explain it as it is.
Yeah. If I can say to you, do this, and I can say to you, don't do this. So if I tell you, don't do this, then I have to tell you what to do. So if you're telling people what not to do, you have to be able to tell them what to do, which is easy. Janari Krishna. And, use your life in a way that you'll benefit from your activities by connecting with the source of your existence, Krishna, by serving the Lord in devotion.
Yes, Guru.
Yeah, you can speak straight. If you speak straight, but you speak what we say in a very easy to understand way, then it's the best you can do. It's up to them for them to accept or not.
Yes, Guru, much about it. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Audible.
Thank you. Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dinanath. Dear Guru Maharaj, my obeisances again. I'm still thinking about this Andha Tamishra hell, that those who misinterpret and misuse the philosophy for their own personal gain or for some twisting out some meaning in order to mislead others, these people are destined for a very, very bad destination, and those who go with them also are destined for that destination. But nowadays we see, not nowadays, it's there from a long time. So many people, fake godmen, one after the other, coming along and proclaiming themselves to be God. They are not impersonalists. They themselves claim to be God, and they are accepting worship. They are accepting followers. They are doing miracles, and just recently, one new godman has come around like this. So many things like this. What is the destination for those who are claiming to be God themselves?
Well, yeah, because they're also cheating others. So they're gonna, because they're cheating others and misleading others, they both go to hell. If you claim to be God and you don't speak anything, it's not so bad because nobody cares anyway. But if you're out there trying to canvass for your position, so-called position, if you take a piece of rock and you paint it with a gold paint and then you try to sell it as gold, then once you're caught, you'll be put in jail.
It's such a heavy, heavy punishment. And I'm just thinking that those who are indulging in this, are they even aware what is awaiting them, Guru Maharaj. They are themselves in ignorance, isn't it?
Yeah. Prabhupada used the example. A person commits a crime and he's standing in front of the judge and says, I didn't know it was a crime. Judge says, sorry, you're going to jail. Whether you knew it or not, still, you're supposed to know it. Ignorance is no excuse for doing the wrong thing. But these people are not in ignorance. They're self-proclaimed. So and when you meet somebody, you explain what is God. And if they can't match the credentials, then you say you're not God because you don't have these qualities. Like God is all-knowing. So if God is all-knowing, then you ask them, what am I thinking about? And when they can't say it, then you can say you're not God.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for your obeisance.
I had a similar question to Mataji, so I think Maharaj clarified that. So thank you. Ignorance is not an excuse. Maharaj, I have another question. So in order to understand what Prabhupada gave us, we need to really read and study his books. At the same time, we also see there are so many publications published by Srila Prabhupada's disciples, by devotees, by brahmacharis, so many devotional material and books on various topics and themes are out there. What should be the balance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books and these other books? Or is there a preference in sequential order or not?
You should always read Prabhupada's books every day. If you decide to read the books of his disciples, good, but don't make it the main thing. A lot of books that disciples write, they're in support of books that Prabhupada wrote. We're taking certain themes and ideas and explaining them also. That's fine. But just like we're here every day, we're reading Bhagavatam. We're with Prabhupada's books every day on this call.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, I could choose anything and say, well, we can just find some interesting thing. No, but Bhagavatam is the essence. If you know Bhagavatam, you know everything. And if you know Bhagavatam, you know what is not also. And that's important.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, so we stop here.
Yes, Maharaj, I have one more question, if that's okay. Or I can ask tomorrow.
Well, you're in charge. You decide.
If you have to go, then I can ask tomorrow. It's
I don't have to go, but
okay. So Maharaj, the question is, I was faced with this is a personal situation. So I was faced with, my mother took me to meet her friend from US who came. She follows another philosophy, a Jain philosophy, and they're very close friends. And the husband started to say something very bogus about Bhagavad Gita, about saying, because the Jains claim that Krishna had a brother called Neminath, who is Jain's Tirthankar, and he's the one who gave all the knowledge to Krishna. And he says, "Are you aware of this? Do you agree with this?" So I was really put on a spot there, where this is my mother's best friend, husband, trying to talk about philosophy, trying to say, what do you think about it? In those situations, should you defend? Should you not comment? What should you do?
you ask him, where did you get this idea from? show me the scripture that says this.
But they refer to their own scriptures and say, there it is, in our scriptures, this is how it's written.
But then, what does it say in the fifth canto Srimad Bhagavatam? That in Kali Yuga, there's two religions that are created. One is Buddhism and one is Jainism. They're created religions. They're not eternal religions. You just read the Bhagavatam. It's there with the story of Rishabdev. Rishabdev,
So we should, in a polite way, kind of refute or try to tell them and guide them in the sense that I'm not worry about the social situations you were in at that point.
Do it because if they're related, they're friends, you do it in a very respectful and very, you don't compromise. Compromise doesn't allow anybody to benefit.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not compromise, it's just agreeing with the wrong thing. Where does it say Krishna had a brother? He has a brother, his name is Balaram. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatraki Vidi Vidam. If it's not part of the Shrutis or Smritis or the Pancharatrakis, it's not bona fide. It has to be within the Vedas.
Maharaj, I like the way that you said compromise doesn't benefit anyone, because sometimes we compromise because of situations, because of many things that comes, when you're faced with, and then when you compromise, it doesn't benefit anybody. And it's a profound thing.
Yeah, if they're so adamant to put across this nonsense, you just have to somehow or other don't allow it, because other people who are hearing it will be, maybe believe it. But I mean, Prabhupada never compromised, and he was on the attack also, showing people who are writing books and speaking publicly. They're just. I was just reading today. He was talking about what was his name? Bhave. His name was
Vinoba Bhave.
Vino Bhave. Yeah. He's speaking about Gita all his life, and then he decides not to speak anymore and decides, now I'm going to be liberated. He's been speaking about Gita, and therefore he's not even liberated, and now he's going to try to be liberated. So his speaking about Gita is useless because he's not a liberated soul. He can't speak about Gita. And now he decides to become liberated. I just read that just before I came on the class today. Yeah, he's just, Prabhupada's very clear. People giving commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, and they're conditioned souls. That means they have the four defects.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you for clarifying that. With your permission, we can conclude today's class.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhupada.
Jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta bhakta vrind ki jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hari Hari Hari
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you very much for today.